What was the church policy, by the way, over the years in Venezuela?
The
Because
church was
usually
great.
communists takes
Yes.
away church.
Yes. So the church in Venezuela, the Venezuelan Catholic Church, opposed the regime very much. I mean, you can see nuns and priests in the protests. It's really beautiful to see nuns facing the National Guard in Venezuela.
That's amazing. It's also wild, though, that they haven't been sent to the gulags.
Oh, they are. They arrest them, they beat them.
But all of them, I mean.
No, not all of them. Yeah, I mean, that would be very radical in a Catholic country. I think that the Venezuelan regime, if anything, tried to co-opt Catholicism.
Now,
Chavez
how did
tried.
they do that?
Well, Chavez did a lot of really things that were heretic. I mean, he's really heretic. I mean, there was a rosary. You know the rosary, right?
Yes.
Imagine he made a red rosary with his face instead of the
No.
Virgin Mary. I mean, he's in hell. He's burning in hell, Chavez. Yeah.
He thought that would pass.
Yeah, he thought that would
He
pass.
thought people would be like, this is fine.
Yeah. Oh, and he brought a lot of Santeria. Have you heard of Santeria, the religion?
I heard of sangria.
No,
That's
this
the
is
thing.
not as nice. The Santeria is this Afro-Caribbean religion that comes from a mix of, back when the slaves were brought to the Caribbean and they mixed with the Catholic Church, they worship like demons and saints, and they dress all in white and they sacrifice animals. They sacrifice especially chicken, but also larger animals. There was an entire Supreme Court case actually about the right to do that in the U.S. in Florida. We didn't have any of that.
Florida, of course.
Of
That's
course.
where they're fucking
Of
doing
course,
it.
you know, it's Florida,
It's
man.
like hacking goats in
But
Florida,
it's
for
just
God.
mostly because of the Caribbean, relation. But it was like a religious freedom case. I think the state wanted to ban them from sacrificing animals. I don't remember what was the outcome. I hope it was that you could forbid animal sacrifice. But that began appearing in Venezuela under Chavez. There's a picture of Maduro with this Indian shaman or something, this witch. I mean, these are not Christian. The Maduro regime isn't Christian.
Right.
You can't be a Christian and support what Venezuela has done.
course you can.
Of torturing, of killing,
Of course you can.
the misery, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way you said it, they're heretics,
Yes.
to say the least. It's just, again, you see the first thing a lot of communist takeovers will do is remove the state is now God.
Yes.
Or whatever. So the fact that they didn't fully do that is fascinating.
They
to
didn't
me.
because they didn't have anything to gain from doing that. I think Chavez and Maduro were very pragmatic. Why would you, for example, even arrest everybody who opposes you, right? Just, you have the guns, you have the power. Stay in power. Keep stealing money. Let them be. If you want to have a meeting in your house and your family opposes the regime, they're not going to do anything to you in the privacy of your home.
Interesting.
But if you go protest in the street with a sign, they will arrest you.
So the word you use, pragmatic. They're more pragmatic than they have been more
Yes.
pragmatic than a lot of these other countries have been in the past, who
But
are
then
also totalitarian.
But then other things happen, like an old lady has a TikTok account and she pisses off somebody in the regime because she jokes about him. This old lady in her 60s, she became very famous as a comedian about politics. And so she dressed up and she mocked the members of the regime and she called one a cocaine dealer, which he is. And then she was disappeared. And they do that. So if you piss off the wrong person, they will disappear you.
All right, so I've been waiting to ask this question. When is your first memory or your first experience with understanding that there was some form of, call it secret police, whatever the term was, and that there would be people who, if they pissed off the wrong people in the streets in this case, like you were just outlining, or said the wrong thing on some sort of platform, they'd be disappeared, wouldn't be heard from again?
Well, when I was a kid, as I told you, I was a crazy kid, at a very young age.
You were a smart kid.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
I don't think it's crazy. I think you were just really intelligent.
And I lived in the crazy circumstances. That's what pushed me to do that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I did Model United Nations. It's like a debate thing. You
Yes.
represent countries. I really loved it for the debate skills. I was a very shy kid, and then that really helped me.
We had Model UN. In the
Yeah, I
US
know.
as well.
I did it in college.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a waste of time in college for me, but I loved what I did in high school and middle school. And when I started it, we went to do it in different schools, including public schools. And the teacher that ran it, she went to the next door school that was a public school, government. And when she went to invite them, they're like, oh, you guys are CIA agents, so we're going to report you to the regime. You're a CIA agent for doing Mortal UN. That's the first time we got accused of being CIA agents. You know, do you remember Che Guevara,
of course,
the criminal guerrilla fighter? I met the guy who captured him, the CIA
Felix
agent. Yeah, we're friends with Felix. Yeah. I have a picture with him. He's great. He signed his picture, his last picture when they captured Che Guevara for me. He was CIA since he was 18.
My buddy Danny Jones went and sat down with him and did an episode with him 2 years ago.
Really? Mm-hmm. I'm so happy about that.
And, he didn't like communists.
He didn't, and he did everything he could his entire life and career to fight. I bet he's very happy today. It's a shame that Cuba is not free yet, but if Venezuela becomes a free country, I can assure you Cuba is next.
It does seem like that would be the domino to fall. Like that's probably the one thing that surprised me about this. It's like, Castro's been dead now for a while. Cuba's closer. It's an island. I would have thought that would have fallen sooner than Venezuela. Obviously, they don't have oil like Venezuela.
But it's not about that. It's about Venezuela has an active resistance movement and opposition and politicians to take over. Cuba doesn't. Cuba is much more tightly controlled and totalitarian than Venezuela is. They have no internet.
What about people from outside Cuba, though, who have left?
Yeah, but then we already tried that. I was called by your pigs. Felix was in that.
Yeah.
That didn't work well because of Kennedy, Honestly, if that had worked well, we wouldn't have seen what happened in Venezuela. I mean, that was the original sin, that Cuba was allowed to become this. We would see half the problems that we see today in Latin America had Cuba never been taken over by Castro. That was a huge mistake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's wild because Cuba, like you were saying with Batista, was such a shit show with him. Of
course.
But then it was just like, damn, they had it good before Castro.
Of course. And a sponsor of terror. I mean, Cuba went to Congo, went to Angola, Nicaragua. Yeah. I mean, El Salvador, Venezuela. I mean, you name it.
Say what you want about the mafia. Having a few casinos in Cuba with a dictator who's kind of an asshole is a little better than, what you just laid out. Listen.
And by the way, this isn't even about democracy versus dictatorship, I'll say. It's really about freedom, right? I mean, there are dictatorships in the Middle East where people aren't starving to death. When people tell me, Daniel, what happened in Venezuela is not socialism. It's just you had a dictator. You had a corrupt dictator. To which I answer, do you think that Saudi Arabia is not a corrupt country?
Of course they are.
Why aren't people starving to death in Saudi Arabia then? I thought it was all about corruption. They're a desert. They can't even grow food. In Venezuela, we grow food everywhere. People are eating bananas from the sidewalk.
Right.
Because it's not about dictatorship or democracy. It's about whether you have free markets or not.
That's right.
Right?
Ability to make money.
Dubai has no elections.
Right.
90% of the country isn't even a citizen. But the citizens don't even vote. So who cares if you're a citizen? But they're rich as heck.
That's right.
Venezuela should be like Dubai. We have even more oil. I tell people I should not be in New York City. I should be driving a Lamborghini in Caracas. That's where Venezuela should be.
It makes sense. On that argument,
and
it
is not because of socialism, not because of democracy. And of course, I prefer democracy over dictatorship.
Of course.
But let's not deceive ourselves that what happened here is because we have an authoritarian government. It's because we have a socialist government.
Yeah, you're saying basically you got the lowest piece of shit on the pile of shit, but man, if you had like a middle piece of shit, you might be able to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Effectively.
I mean, look, Singapore never had a free election under the British, and they were the richest country in the world.
I don't know.
Singapore, not Hong Kong, but then Singapore too. Singapore now has elections, but they aren't as free.
Singapore is the rabbit hole I haven't done much on yet.
I really want to go. It's a fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I know there's like obviously
Lee Kuan Yew. You know Lee Kuan Yew?
Who?
The leader that founded Singapore. Really,
no,
really
what
amazing
I'm saying.
man.
I really don't know much about it.
His video edits, by the way, this dude is based. He's like such a good speaker. Lee Kuan Yew is the man.
Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah, do not commit crimes in Singapore, believe me, because they're very tough on crime. Graffiti, they still have physical punishment.
What do they do if you graffiti someone?
A lash, like whipping you.
No, that sucks.
Yeah, there was a big controversy. They whipped an American over vandalism in the 90s, and Clinton tried to like get them to forgive him, and then like the Singaporeans are like, okay, we'll just whip him one time.
Leave a little mark. Yeah.
Maybe that's better than going to prison.
If they said to me,
choose 1 year in
6
prison
months-
or one whip.
I'm going to take the one whip and be in a
whip,
lot of pain for a
and
couple
then you will
days.
never do it again.
You'll never do it again. Yeah. I mean, it's with that whip. You ever
Right?
seen those fucking things? They
I know.
suck, but
Yeah, that's Lee Kuan Yew.
that's him.
That's Lee Kuan Yew.
I got to really look into this country and everything that's going on there. Oh, so he's dead.
Yeah, he already passed away. They have had many prime ministers, but he was prime minister for decades. He kept getting reelected, but it isn't as a free election. But the party in power has been in power since founding, since
Right,
the
and they're
70s.
not socialists, so it's...
But no, they're super capitalists.
Yeah.
They are the top country in the economic freedom ranking.
Really?
Yeah, Singapore.
Now,
And they're richer than Americans.
Well,
by
yeah,
the
I
way.
mean, you're obviously an economist. When you say economic freedom ranking, like what goes into that?
The lowest tax rates, the lowest government spending, lowest debt to GDP ratio, stable currency, rule of law, efficient trials, and especially judgments for corporations like contracts. Can you enforce a contract? Can you evict somebody of your home if they take it? Can you force a company to pay you if they're breaking your contract, right? IP law, all that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, regulation. Can you freely import and export? Do you have tariffs or not? Singapore has total free trade. It's really incredible.
Little side note right here, just because you are an economics guy. What do you think of the tariff policies that Trump has tried to impose? Do you think there's a use for something like that, or are you kind of against tariffs in all their forms?
I mean, what I will say is that I think it's been disastrous for the U.S. economy. Very much disastrous.
How so?
Well, I think they have destroyed jobs, they have raised costs, and we're poorer for it. Now, you can say, with the case of China, that's different, but I mean, we have put tariffs on Singapore, and Singapore doesn't even have tariffs on us. I mean, the whole reciprocity thing is a whole different discussion, but it's also not reciprocal what we're doing. But regardless, what I wanted to say about that is that even if you say we should impose tariffs on China because they're evil and we want to make them poorer, you have to recognize that's also making us poorer. But we're willing to bear that cost. Let's not deceive ourselves. We're bearing a cost because of a greater good. But all tariffs are making us bear a cost. There's no free lunch. I mean, if tariffs were for free, then why would we have any other tax? No country would have taxes. Everybody would just have tariffs, of course, and that's not the case.
Yeah, and you can create tariff wars real fast.
And that's what's happening. So I think, the Trump administration is realizing that. That's why they have backtracked a lot of them.
What have they done recently on that?
They just backtracked the pasta tariffs. They were tariffing Italian pasta, and now they're like, oh, actually,
Can't do that.
no. Thank God.
Yeah,
I love my Barilla pasta.
That's bullshit.
Have you been to Italy in Manhattan?
I actually have. There is on the one, I think there's a couple Italy's, but the one by the one on 23rd Street.
Oh, Flatiron, yeah.
There's a little bar back there. Fuck, what is the name of it? Little bar restaurant, Molino, I think.
Oh, okay.
They got one of the best pappardelle dishes. Yeah, Milano, that's it.
Oh, Milano, yeah.
They got one of the best pappardelle dishes in the city,
Wow.
low key, which you would never expect, respectfully, like in a place that's just, like selling the food a little bit touristy. But yeah, that place is fire.
Yeah. No, I love that. No, I mean, if you understand the concept of comparative advantage, you understand that we can't and shouldn't. I mean, we can. We would just be poor if we did it, produce everything.
Can you explain comparative advantage for people out there?
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you one great example. I can bet you that when you have been on an Uber ride, you can think, wow, this man drives really bad. I would be a better driver.
Yeah.
Why aren't you an Uber driver then if you're a better driver? Because you have better things to do with your time. So the fact that somebody's an Uber driver doesn't mean that they're the best drivers in the country. It's just the best relative to the other options they have to do with their time.
Understood.
So they're doing their comparative advantage even if you have an absolute advantage over them at being a driver. Einstein, I bet, is better than us at doing math. But he did physics. Einstein is probably faster at reading. Why isn't he a news analyst or something? Because he has 24 hours in the day. He's going to do what's most productive to do among all the things he's great at doing, even if he's better than you at doing everything.
Right.
You know, I might be stronger than Einstein, but I'm not gonna be, you know, a swimmer, a professional swimmer. Because there are other people, you know, like everybody should do what they're relatively better at doing. That's comparative advantage.
So why are you bringing that up in the context
I'm
of
bringing it
tariffs
up because
again?
that's the same with countries. What is America relatively better at doing than other countries? A lot of farm products. We're a big ag exporter. Soy, corn, you know, a lot of other things. Airplanes, you know, the Boeings, that's a big export. Military equipment, high tech, electric cars, Tesla. Innovation, the tech companies, financial services, the banks. We have the best banking system in the world. What are we not relatively better at doing? Well, bananas, because we're not a tropical country.
Right.
It's not that we can't make bananas. We can. We just have to pay $10 for each of them to grow them in greenhouses.
Yeah.
And then people would have to stop doing other jobs to grow bananas, right? So we'll produce less of everything else.
Right. So the things that we have a good
And it's not just
natural-
bananas, even pasta. The Italians are relatively better. Why? Because of a history, because
no
of
kidding.
experience.
Right.
Right? A host of things.
Absolutely. Okay. So that makes sense.
That's comparative advantage. And that's why we benefit from trade. And it's not just at the country level, it's at the state level, it's at the individual level. You know, we could all be subsistence farmers and not trade with each other. We would just all be subsistence farmers and we really don't want to be.
Yeah, it wouldn't be efficient at all.
Right.
So going back to Venezuela, though, and the man of the hour, we've been putting
Yeah.
it off, but Maduro.
Yes.
So we've talked a lot of Chavez today because Chavez is who set the foundation here,
No.
laid it.
Evil devil man.
Evil, the whole bit. But Maduro, as you laid out correctly earlier, is certainly not a dummy. Like, he's someone who figured out how to rise through the power structure and put himself in good positions. Even like at one point he was like I think the official foreign trade minister or
Yeah,
something
he was
for
the Minister
Venezuela.
for Foreign Affairs.
And this is not a man who spoke any languages.
Of course.
Like besides Spanish, and yet was effective.
But Spanish.
Effective, huge air quotes there, in a job like that, to be put in a job like that by someone like Chavez and be so trusted in the regime. So what was Maduro's history, and how did this pathway happen from him literally driving buses to becoming the vice president, eventually the illegitimate president of the country?
Well, Maduro has been a loyalist from the beginning. Maduro was a member of the Constituent Assembly that rewrote the Constitution in 1999. Yeah. And so he has been in the Chavez regime from the start. Same as Delcy, same as Diosdado, same as Jorge.
Delcy's the VP right now.
Yeah, one of the VPs. There's several, actually. They created a lot of positions. But all of the people in power have been with Chavez since the beginning. And Maduro was just a big loyalist, and he managed to become vice president before Chavez died and get Chavez to appoint him before he died.
Did Maduro, obviously, like, it waned as the years went on and he had a lot of problems and was winning elections illegally that he clearly didn't
He never
win.
won a legal election, Maduro.
But when he was coming to power, even before he had people in the country who supported him and liked him. What was it about him that made him likable to a subset of people?
So he was already a minority, but just Chavez's endorsement.
That's it.
That's it. That's absolutely it.
So Chavez dies of cancer. Wasn't there like an issue where they're like,
We don't really
might
know
have been,
when
he might have
died,
been
yeah.
dead a few months earlier.
Yeah,
and
we
they signed
think
a
he
lot
died
of
in
stuff?
December 2012, but then they announced it in March.
Now, is that's because they like tried to pass a lot of laws?
They sent
right?
him to Cuba. No, it was just like, I think they were figuring out who was going to take over. They had a lot of problems because before Chavez died, this was a one-man dictatorship. Chavez was the man in charge.
It's the man.
You had to follow the orders of Hugo. And then after that, it became an oligarchy. It's several people in charge. That's the proper meaning of oligarchy.
Yeah.
It's several people who are in charge of a country.
So there were other people
authoritarianly.
besides Maduro.
Of course. Maduro was the president in name, but he's not the leader.
I didn't know that. At the
Of
beginning,
course.
That's not what it was.
Oh, no, of course. It's Diosdado Cabello, who's also indicted as a reward for his head. Delcy Rodriguez, her brother, Jorge Rodriguez. They're siblings. Tarek El Aissami, who now they all betrayed him and they arrested him. That we don't know if it's for real or he's just in hiding. A lot of controversy. And then Tarek William Saab, who's like the prosecutor. He's the one who like orders who to arrest. And then there's like the Minister of Defense, Vladimir Padrino. That's another big guy. And Celia, the wife of Maduro, is also a big one.
When Chavez died, what was the vibe like in the country and the quote-unquote mourning of him and that whole process? What was that like?
We were very happy. We were very happy because he died, but really because we were hoping that this was the breaking point of the regime. Of, he's dead, this is over.
Right.
But it wasn't, because they had a transition plan to stay in power. And they announced their death. All the people that are in power today, they got together, did a press conference, crying over Chavez dying, our commander, intergalactic commander. Intergalactic. They literally called this man intergalactic commander. Like it wasn't enough to be the commander of Venezuela or the world. No, the galaxy.
He was a deity.
Exactly.
Wow.
They literally call him intergalactic. And
people are like, yeah, that's normal.
Well,
a lot of people.
Not most people, but a lot of people. We laughed about it. And they had all these names. The United States was the empire. The empire, the imperialists.
Empire.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it was the Soviet Union that was the evil empire, by Reagan's word. And so every time people came back from the U.S. in a visit, we used to joke like, "Oh, how was the empire?" we loved the empire. And they put graffitis, the regime, on the street with evil Uncle Sam. Like imagine an Uncle Sam, but with devilish horns and a tail. And he's like, "Gringo, go home." And it's like, which gringos? What are you talking about? Like,
no one's here.
Yeah, there are no gringos here. So they really hated the United States. And that's kind of why we love the United States. Because the regime hates America. We must love it. And then America began standing up for us, right? With some of the sanctions at the beginning and then really Donald Trump doing it. And it was like, wow, what's the country that's standing for our freedom? It's the United States.
Now, Maduro, so it's a bunch of people kind of running at the same time, and Maduro's the public figurehead is like, oh, he's in charge. At some point, though, he does take control above the other people. Is that
maybe
fair to
in some
say?
decisions they have an internal structure that we are not really aware of, but maybe not. Maybe it's a council and he's outvoted. I don't know. They're all drug dealers.
Even to this day.
Even to this day.
Okay.
It's not just him and his wife. I mean, there's other people with a lot of power in the country. Diosdado Cabello is actually the richest man in the country. It's not Maduro.
Do we have an
Diosdado
idea
is
of what
the bald guy. You can look him up.
Do we have an idea what his net worth is?
Billions. Billions of dollars. Billions. Of course.
And that's all from the drug trade?
Oh, yeah. Well, and stealing the oil money earlier.
Okay.
The gold reserves and illegal mining and a lot of things.
That's another thing I haven't asked yet, but let's get to that and figure out the actual layout here. At what point did the Chavez or Maduro regime, I'm not really sure when it officially happened, but at what point?
Early 2013.
Early 2013.
The Chavez died either...
No. At what point did either of these regimes say, we are now in the narco trafficking business, and how did that work?
It's a good question. They kicked out the American DEA, I think in 2008. Don't take me on my word, but
okay.
But they kicked it out in a certain year around that time. But they really, the U.S. alleges, and you can see the indictment, that it was from the start. That they were dealing drugs. It just increasingly became true.
What were their supply routes? Like, who were they getting it from? Who were they working
with?
The
Colombians. So Colombia is the biggest producer of cocaine in the world. Who produces it in Colombia? FARC and ELN. You know about FARC and ELN?
It's been a while. Is that the left-wing
communist
guerrilla
group? Yeah. Chavez was a big defender and supporter of FARC and ELN.
I bet he was.
He has even speech in Congress saying FARC and ELN are not terrorist groups. They are armed freedom fighters, something like that. But he said they're not terrorist groups.
And they have to sell cocaine to fund it.
Where do you think they came from? So FARC and ELN obviously produced it because they controlled land in tropical parts of Colombia. But then how were they going to take it out? It was difficult to take it out through Colombia because the Colombian government was against them, checking for it. Well, now you had the government next door in the border that you control, allowing you to bring all your cocaine in exchange for a fee, a reasonable fee, that they collaborate. And then they used Venezuelan airplanes, state-owned airplanes. Even Maduro's nephews. That's why they were charged. And
right.
Here.
So there was like a whole deal here where they got charged, they got imprisoned in the U.S.
and then Biden
he later
gave them a presidential pardon. Yeah.
He traded them for people
some
Americans he had.
Some Americans that I will say were working for the Venezuelan regime. Let's just be clear.
Oh, really?
Yes, let's be fair here.
So then he just
They were not
imprisoned
some
them.
innocent people who got kidnapped. We have to be very transparent. They worked for the Venezuelan state-owned oil company, and they were Venezuelans who became Americans. They were not just Americans from here.
So why did we, the Americans, trade his sons?
Not just his nephews, but
nephews,
also
I'm sorry.
another big financier of terrorism, Saab, who was a Colombian Lebanese guy, who
Financier of terrorism?
financier of terrorism. Yeah,
What specifically, like what terrorism?
Islamic. That's why he's Lebanese.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh,
So
Hezbollah.
this was like a Hezbollah network guy.
yeah.
They traded him and the nephews.
How do
for
you
these...
think modern terrorist groups finance themselves through drug trafficking?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I know all about that. But
Yeah.
I'm saying we traded one of those guys and his two nephews
Yeah,
for seven
big
dudes.
big people.
7 dudes who were on the take.
Yes. I mean, you can look. I'm happy that they're free. I'm just saying it was a bad trade.
Yeah,
It
that
was a bad trade.
sounds like a bad deal.
And the presidential pardon the Biden signed for this terrorist financier said that one of the conditions is that he can't make a documentary about it. It's really like laughable. Like, don't do Netflix, please, about this.
Wait, I thought the nephews trade was way before Biden, though.
No, Biden released them.
Biden released
Yes,
the
they were
nephews.
arrested and charged under Obama, then put to prison, life in prison. A judge in New York, they were here under Trump all the term, and then Biden released them.
Wow. Okay, so that was more recent. And then he just threw in a little Hezbollah
Exactly.
financier.
Yeah. And now there's more Americans kidnapped, by the way. Because why wouldn't Maduro take more Americans in exchange for more concessions?
Is this the same type of American?
No,
like
now these are really innocent people. It's really sad. Like one guy, and he got released then under Biden. I'm very happy. He was like this poor guy from Utah who got in love with a Venezuelan woman. And like, yeah. You know, and now there's like 5 Americans right now still there kidnapped, actually.
and sitting in
Maduro
their
kid.
gulags.
Horrible.
effectively.
You know what the Americans said, how they torture them, the Venezuelans? They told them every day that they were getting released. And they showered them, they got them ready, and then they're like, ha, 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 you're not getting released. Psychological torture.
Oh, that's fucked up.
It is.
What other, not to get like,
How they torture?
too
I
dark
can
here,
tell
but
you.
what
it's
kinds
worse
of
what they
things
do
do
to the
they do?
Venezuelans.
what do they do?
I have a friend, her name is María Lourdes. She was kidnapped from her house in August 2024 after the fraudulent election for the crime of observing the fraud and calling it out in protest and on social media. So they make people eat their feces. They obviously hang them and electrocute them. They put them in very small spaces where they have to eat from the place where they defecate and they piss. There's an entire, it's called El Helicoide. That's the biggest torture center in Latin America. It was supposed to be a mall. And they turned it into a torture center where they play basketball on top of the political prisoners in like a basketball court and other sports. And that's how they torture them. They do everything you can imagine. Taking their toenails and their fingernails, like everything.
Do people ever get released?
Yeah. They released a few people on Christmas Day, actually. They're very nice of them. They didn't release Maria, though.
She's been in there for like 18 months?
Yeah.
Is there any way to have any contact with them in there? Or are they totally shut off even from their mom with a phone call?
Her mom is there. Her grandma just died. I don't know if she knows. I hope she doesn't. I fear that the regime is actually using it to torture her even more. You never know. She's just, she actually, we met here in the United States. She came here, and that's where we met. And then she's like, I want to go back to fight for freedom.
Oh,
And she went back in 2019, and she joined Maria Corina's party. She joined the Vente Venezuela, the free market, classically liberal party. And she became
who's
the
running
leader.
against...
Well, she was far from running, but she's the opposition leader. She's the Nobel Prize winner, Maria Corina.
Okay.
And Maria, this girl, she became the leader of the party in her own state of Portuguesa, a rural state, her entire state. She became the leader at like 30 years old, very young. And then, they arrested her. But she really went back to fight for her freedom, and she didn't have to. She could have sought asylum here. I mean, she had obviously a good case. Look where she is now.
Yeah. No, it's amazing that she went back there to do that because she cares that much. I admire that a lot, but I can't imagine.
Her sister is here in the U.S. She's safe. But her mom is there fighting for her.
The mom is there fighting for her, but the mom has no contact with her.
No.
They don't let any phone calls happen or anything like that, obviously.
No. That's part of it, right? That's part of the torture, the
What is-
isolation.
When Chavez changed the Constitution to take control, I forget if you said this, so forgive me if this is being repeated, but was in those changes, did that also seize control of all the courts as well?
Yeah, so first, how could you rewrite the entire Constitution legally? You can't, right? There's an amendment process. Yeah. Imagine in the US. I mean, you need so much consensus. That's why it would be impossible to pass any amendment today.
Right.
So what Chavez did is argue, the Constitution says that sovereignty lies in the people, kind of like saying if the American Declaration of Independence says we the people, right? So, and then he says, therefore, if we have a referendum where we win 51% of the vote, we can rewrite the entire thing. And then the Supreme Court said, wait a minute. And so then he went and just packed the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court says, yes, you can do whatever you want. He won the referendum fairly, but obviously it's still wrong.
Right.
And then he got an assembly elected with a supermajority that he had, and his people rewrote the entire thing.
So they rewrote the entire thing. And
within a year of being in office.
Right. And so as a part of this sham rewrite, there is something in there, maybe I'm reading this too deeply, but there's something in there that allows for them to arrest people at will, hold them without trial.
No, not really.
Torture them. They just do that
against
illegally.
their own constitution.
And no court systems.
Any judge that rebels against them gets arrested themselves. That's why all the judges are in the pay. There's a very famous case of this judge. What's her name? Afiuni, the judge Afiuni.
Afiuni, how do you spell that?
F-I-U.
Deep got it.
María Lourdes Afiuni.
Okay, so is a Venezuelan judge. She was head of the 31st Control Court of Caracas before she was arrested in 2009 on charges of corruption after ordering the conditional release on bail of businessman Eligio Cedeno, who then fled the country. She was moved to house arrest in Caracas.
I have a friend who lived in that building, actually.
In Caracas in February 2011 and granted parole in June 2013, but she is still barred from practicing law, leaving the country, or using her bank account or social networks.
In 2019, she was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison.
There it is. Okay, so she was sentenced for corruption.
She was not corrupt. She just released somebody who should have been released against the orders of the regime.
They kept coming after her. Years later, they do that. And when they sentence her to prison, are they sending her to that mall torture center?
I don't remember where she was sent.
But they're sending her to some fucking hellhole prison where they may do the very same thing.
That's right. Absolutely.
Is she still in there?
I don't know what happened to her after that, actually. I think she's out of the country. I don't know. Can you check?
Yeah.
This is first second detention.
Okay, second detention.
According to return.
Yeah, she might be in there still.
In because she was sentenced to 5 years in 2019, but there's no... now it's Venezuela. They released in July 2019. They released Afiuni alongside journalist Braulio Jatar and 20 detained students. Afiuni's brother and Jatar denounced that they had not received an official statement from Venezuelan judiciary, and then there's no aftermath. I don't know where she is now.
I think she's released. Yeah, probably.
But like, probably is she still in Venezuela?
No, probably a different country.
I mean, I hope so. That's horrible.
So that's what happens to judges who don't follow orders. So all of them tend to be in the take. They're all corrupt. I mean, everybody in a political position in the regime.
Did you have any friends at a family who, not even like if they're part of the regime, but did you have friends of the family who were judges or involved in the law system or anything like that where it was like, dude, what are your parents were like, what are you doing?
Not my family, but the only friendship I ever broke was because of this.
What happened there?
Very good friend. I'm not going to say who he is, but he was a normal kid. He didn't work or anything. You know, we were the same age. And he lived only with his mom, divorced parents. His mom was a normal woman. But his dad, that had abandoned the family, worked for the regime, in the tax system. And he was very rich, of course. Very rich.
Conveniently.
Private airplane, the entire thing, boats, yachts. And suddenly, when we were in high school, then suddenly my friend starts going to parties, very lavish parties. And then I leave Venezuela, and he's like in a private airplane, in a yacht. And that's why I broke the friendship, because I'm like, man, you're an adult. Obviously, you're benefiting, you're profiting from the destruction of the country. People are literally dying while you're profiting from their death. You're a piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
That's the only friendship I've ever broke, actually. And people say, oh, people today in America, oh, I break friendships for political reasons. This is not a political reason, okay? This is not like we have a disagreement over abortion or whatever. This is like you're literally profiting from this. You're enjoying the fruits of ill-gotten gains.
Yeah, I think you guys have a different reality check understanding of what it means to have political differences, and that's not that's not even the correct term. It's very sad to me, a trend in this country that, you know, people have seen in their lives and that you hear about. Mostly I've just heard stories about it. I haven't seen it happen like with people necessarily around me, but people breaking friendships or families not talking to each other because they have political differences. That's fucking crazy. That said, I agree with you. If you are, like, reality check, if you're living in a literal dictatorship, literal regime that has choked off the economy from the world and ruined all the fucking people there, and then someone's political difference is that their fucking family's on the take of it and they're Instagramming it around the world. Mm-hmm. That's different. That's definitely
Actually,
different.
that's how we found out where the Venezuelan gold reserves ended up. Because of Instagram.
Come on.
Because, you know, most countries have their gold reserves, their central bank gold reserves in Switzerland or New York City for safety reasons, right? And then Chavez was like, we're a sovereign nation. We need to bring back the gold to Caracas. Yeah, for sovereignty, right? The gold disappeared.
Where'd it go?
Well, we found, you know, central bank gold bars are special. They have like a special marking, you know, they're I don't know how you call it, but they have their name on it, Central Bank of Venezuela. Every central bank has this. They're not just a flat gold bar. And some like prostitutes were like doing a live on Instagram in Dubai, like, you know, like this is where
that's the place to do it.
Go. Yeah. And there was this glass table that had a bunch of gold bars below the glass table. And the gold bars had the Venezuelan central bank marks on. And that's where the gold ended. And that actually makes a lot of sense. Because Dubai is the one place in the world where you go to launder money with gold. They accept any gold, no questions asked, in the Dubai airport. And then you can use it to buy property, and that's how you launder money.
Give it to the hookers.
Well, and then, I mean, there were hookers in the apartment. I'm not sure
kidding.
they were getting the hookers. But yeah, of course, there's prostitution and all of this. That's how these people lose their money, right? Yeah. This is why crooks and people who have ill-gotten gains, they never stay rich for long.
That's right.
Because they didn't build it.
Yep.
They stole it.
And they all got the same vices.
They all have the same vices.
Come around to kick you in the fat bottom, if
This
you
is
will.
as old as humanity, as you know, all these vices.
Now, we were talking about the narco trafficking, though, and everything, and you're explaining how it's coming in from FARC, and Colombia is basically like Venezuela becomes a transporter of it, and that's how the government gets on the take.
Yes.
Fast forward to the months leading up to what we just saw with the invasion, there was this whole thing with like Venezuelan drug boats being shot at and everything. What was going on there? Who was in charge of that? Who was on those boats? Who were those people? Where does the government overlap with gangs like, say, Tren de Aragua?
Great. Well, Tren de Aragua, I'll touch on it separately.
Okay.
Because they started in a prison. They began as a criminal gang, not as a drug gang. Like extortion, kidnapping. Venezuela had a big kidnapping problem in the mid-2000s. That was a big fear for my family and many others.
Kidnapping problem.
Kidnapping, yeah. They created something called express kidnapping, secuestro express.
Like a Holiday Inn
Yeah,
Express.
less than 24 hours. Yeah. This is not like, when you think of kidnapping in the U.S., you think of a psychopath that is going to torture you. Like, you think of criminal minds, NCIS. No, in Venezuela, it's a profit-making activity. They're like, you know, Julian, you've been kidnapped. We are serious people here. They keep you in the car with your husband. You give us your mom's number. We're going to call her. $5,000 for Julian's life. We'll drop him off here, but you need to give us the $5,000. If not, he's dead. And then you give
so they're still,
yeah. And so if you give the $5,000, they won't really kill you. They're very actually serious about it. They will just release you. Because for them, it's about money. They're businessmen.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they tell the truth on this. There's this comedian, Venezuelan comedian, who got kidnapped, and he has such a funny story because he literally had the kidnappers laugh with him because he was a professional comedian, and they laughed like with him. They were having a great time in the car.
This is not personal.
Yeah, it's not. It was not personal, and so that was a big problem, and that's how these gangs started. But on the drug trafficking, what happens is this is a big network. The military is involved. Everybody is on take. And regular Venezuelans get paid to traffic drugs, and they're drug dealers. And they were on these boats. The Associated Press has a great report where they tried to make the Trump administration look bad by going into Venezuela and interviewing the families of the people killed. And even all the families of all the people killed said, oh, he was a fisherman, he was this. But yes, he was trafficking drugs. Everybody admitted they were trafficking drugs. So now you can say...
Where were they taking them to?
To different, usually Caribbean islands, Central America, and then that's how they get here.
So the question becomes...
now you can say maybe this is not a fair response, but...
Well, no. If they're trafficking drugs, that's terrible. But I'm saying if they're not trafficking it to the United States...
that's where it's coming to, though. People in Honduras are not buying the cocaine.
So they're putting it to, but you're saying like some of these islands and stuff, it's
coming
then going
to the US.
from there to the US.
Of course.
Okay, that makes sense.
Puerto Rico too. Puerto Rico has a sea border with Venezuela, by the way. But most of it actually ends up in the Caribbean islands in Central America, and then the other cartels traffic them here.
Okay, understood.
So the Mexican cartels collaborate with all of this.
So I see.
And there's a lot of
that
tiny
tie
planes too. It's not really just boats. A lot of it is in planes.
Yeah, Deef, I sent you some tweets earlier on the messages. Can we pull up the one, not one of the videos? Well, I think there might have been a video on it of Trump talking where the context was they were saying, not that one. Is it? No, that one. I think, right, where he's talking about the oil. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So. This is what the tweet says. And this is, you see a lot of tweets like simplifying things down to the basics, but let's just look at what happened here. Marco Rubio, this is about a dictator who oppresses his people. Pete Hegseth, it's about drugs that pose an imminent threat. Trump, it's about oil, because Trump went on and he said on Fox and Friends, and they said, what do you see as the future of Venezuela's oil industry? And he said, we'll see that we're going to be strongly involved in it. That's all what I can say. We have the greatest oil companies in the world. And so people do wonder, it's like the way that they marketed in the months leading up to this, that, they had to go to Venezuela was because it was this giant drug war, when in reality, Trump just pardoned the ex-head of Honduras, who was a massive drug trafficker.
Yeah.
We've declared the cartels in Mexico terrorists and still haven't technically done anything about that, and they're the ones that are trafficking the most drugs in here. And yes, there were drugs being trafficked from Venezuela, but comparatively speaking, it's much smaller. The bottom line is this is a country that has significant financial resources, and you now have the president right after doing this saying, yeah, we're going to be really involved in those oil companies. Again, separating the fact Maduro, Chavez, bad, love it, that could potentially be gone. There's a lot that has to happen. That could potentially be gone for Venezuela. Do you see why people in the U.S., but even more specifically around the world, are looking at this going, this is just a cash grab for the U.S.?
Wait a minute. What's the problem?
What do you mean, what's the problem?
You're pointing out that the U.S., it would be wants oil.
Yeah.
Why is that a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing that the United States wants oil and to enrich its economy. I think that people around the world, and then also people within our own country, because of the last 20, 25 years worth of history, are very, very reticent to the propaganda that can cause when the most powerful government in the world decides whether a guy is a bad leader or not, that they can send in Delta Force, take the dude out in the middle of the night, and then come in and say, we're here as fucking freedom fighters. By the way, we're going to run the country, which they said they're going to do today. That's right. And we're going to get involved in the oil and enrich ourselves. So if I were just purely selfish, I'd be like, yay, my GDP just got a lot better in America. But I'm also thinking about the way that this will be propagandized around the world by places that hate us and what this could do generationally.
The places that hate us already hate us.
But
That's not gonna matter.
But you're giving them evidence. What about the fact that
doesn't matter. I mean,
hold on.
Cuba has hated
What
us
about
always.
the fact that it could set precedent for Russia to take further action in Ukraine? What about
wait
the
a
fact
minute.
that it could
Russia
take
already takes our oil, the Venezuelan oil.
Hold on. What if it could take? I'm talking about actual like, oh well, Russia's just like, well, we'll just take out Zelensky.
They already took Ukraine,
They haven't taken all of Ukraine,
but because they couldn't. But
they
they already
couldn't.
did. They already invaded.
All right. What about if this sets a
And
precedent?
they're actually killing people.
What about if this sets a precedent for China to be like, you know what, fuck it, we're going to take Taiwan now?
Well, they
You see
already
what I'm
wanted to.
saying?
No, they're not going to, but they already wanted to. If anything, this deters them.
It deters them.
Of course. This is like President Trump was able to literally take the leader of the Maduro regime in the middle of the night.
He can't do that in China.
He can do it in China, but he can do it in different countries that support China. He could do it to Kim Jong-un. He could do it to somebody else. Like, he doesn't want to. But
That's
the
a
point is
bad
that,
day for them.
But the point is that the United States showed what it can do. And that's a blow to China, because who was getting Venezuela's oil? China and Russia
That's
and
true.
Iran.
That's
This was a blow on them. This shows, don't mess with Trump, because look what he's willing to do. He's willing to literally blockade the entire country. So I think that was good. And on the whole thing about the oil, look, the only countries that were getting Venezuela oil for free were Cuba, Russia, China, and Iran.
Right, bad places.
Now Venezuela is, hopefully, if Venezuela becomes a free country now, let's see what happens, will become much richer, because oil companies will actually invest, create jobs, pay taxes. It's amazing. That's what we want.
I think it very well could be. And I'm not
And that benefits America and benefits Venezuela.
I'm not being combative about it. I have to look at this on all. This is a wide spectrum of stuff that just happened, and I'm still processing what it all is. And I have to look at the potential, like, all right, what are the decision trees of where this could go? And maybe it is all good, or mostly good.
No, but imagine
least.
there was no oil. Imagine Venezuela had nothing to offer to the U.S. Then why would the U.S. do anything if it's not in its interest?
That's what I'm
It
saying.
would be a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Now it gets used on
Now
the
it's
other
not
end.
a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's actually good.
Right. Now it gets used on the other end, though, because it's like, I'll tell you one thing I appreciate about Trump saying this. He's at least fucking saying this.
He's honest.
Right? He's at least saying this. Whereas Hegseth is lying like a dog. Rubio's
Why are they lying?
Well, Rubio's not lying, because that does make sense. But Hegseth, it's about drugs.
Well,
It's not about
but it's
drugs.
also about drugs. This is the
It's
thing.
not about drugs.
It's about several things at the same time.
All right, what percentage of it is about drugs? If you say more than 5%, I don't think you
I
have
do
a good
think it's
argument.
about way more than 5%.
I don't think so.
I don't think it's all about
You
the
think
oil.
the Venezuelan drug trade is significantly, even remotely comparable
Because it's not about
to
the-
Mexico? You think it's even remotely
I mean,
comparable?
but the drugs that get to Mexico from here come from Venezuela.
Some
too.
of them do, but like Mexico's the problem with that.
Absolutely, I agree. And I think that the president wants to take a lot of things in Mexico too. And he already said he offered U.S. troops in the ground in Mexico to the Mexican president. They actually said that this week.
Interesting.
I think President Trump wants to hit Mexico too. So it's all about a lot of things. They're
but
chewing
now-
gum and walking at the same
And
time.
now again, and maybe admittedly, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth with saying this. Now it gets weird with that too, because it's like, well, that's a bordering nation to us. Now we hit
And
them.
with a
you know?
democratic government,
It
a
gets
lot
weird.
of things. So that's why I think they're being more careful. Venezuela is different because it's an illegitimate regime.
It was illegitimate.
They're actually sponsoring terrorism. No, that's what the drug money is for. The human rights violations are huge.
Yep.
The migrant crisis that they caused in the United States, Americans have died. Laken Riley died because of a Trinidad gang member. Mm-hmm. Americans have died because of Maduro.
More
Americans
than her.
die every day because of this. So there are Americans kidnapped there. So there's a lot of reasons to do this.
Yeah.
And I think that the confluence of those reasons is why the Trump administration decided to go in.
And there's no doubt, it's not anecdotal to say this, when you look at the response coming from people, forget people that have been forced to leave the country of Venezuela, who are native Venezuelans who are celebrating this, but when you look at the response of people who are in Venezuela right now, it is overwhelmingly like, let's fucking go. I mean, I told you I talked to my guy earlier. He was like, they were literally watching it like with their hands up like this. And
People are very happy.
Of course. And
They're very nervous because the regime is still in power, but they're
we'll get
very
to that
happy.
in a minute.
Yeah.
Just on right now, what we know right now, it does need to be said that even you've seen a lot of videos coming out of Venezuela from people who are like, yo, I literally don't like Trump and have talked against him, but like this, thank you. We
Yes.
like this. And I think that I think that even, you know, the hardcore libertarians out there who hate anything regime change and stuff like that and would welcome some of the challenges I just offered you, you have to look at that and say, that's interesting that so many people there like that. So it's not
And
like
they should
all
talk to
bad.
Venezuelan libertarians. Venezuela has a huge libertarian movement, Students for Liberty, like classical liberals, Ayn Rand people in Venezuela. They're very happy.
I'll bet they are. I'll bet they
They're
are.
very, very happy, the Venezuelan libertarians. I know a lot of them. I belonged to that movement. Then I became just more conservative, but yes.
Now, what those guys, people who are much more isolationist, libertarian like Americans, might say to something like this is like, okay, at this point, feel that, got you. What about what happens next, though?
That's right. I think
Now,
that's
now,
an
what do
important
you
thing.
think if you were in charge and could wave a magic wand here? How would you manage this situation as the United States to ensure some sort of peaceful transfer of power that is now not going to be in the hands of people who would support someone like Maduro?
That's right. I would have had a very good phone call with Delcy, with Diosdado, with Vladimir Padrino, the other oligarchs in Venezuela, and tell them, you're next. Maybe that's what Rubio did. He had a phone call with them.
They
this morning.
probably did that.
And said, you're next. You have this number of days, whatever, to give an announcement to the country that you're going to turn in power gradually in the next couple of months, not a year, but the next couple of months. It needs to happen this year very soon, to Edmundo Gonzalez, the president-elect. You're going to turn over the ministries. You're going to turn over the positions in every part of government, and then you're going to leave with all the money that you have. We will guarantee you a wire transfer that you can do right now. You can take the gold. You can take everything in your plane to Moscow, and you can leave, and you won't be charged. And if you don't do this, we will do what President Trump just announced, which is that we're ready for a second, much larger operation to take you down. And maybe you won't even survive this operation.
There's also some important differences we have to outline here compared to, like, say, in Iraq. Number one, in Iraq, we had to put all these troops on the ground like crazy. That's number one. There were mass casualties of people as well, just all kinds of problems.
Iraqis, Americans,
The whole bit. This one, as of right now, there's 0 casualties. People got in, got out, and we're going to monitor the situation. But that's a nice start.
I mean, incredibly well executed. We
was
really have to
very
give props
well
to the American
executed.
military,
Yes.
to the president. I mean, this is incredible achievement, military achievement.
It certainly looked like it. I don't think you can argue with that at this point. But you have that going for you. You also, in Iraq, had massive regional problems, massive terror networks that were already existing who were not even Iraqi in a lot of cases,
Iranians,
right?
yeah.
You have bordering nations like the Iranians who are funding issues like this. And, of course, you have the age-old Sunni Shia problem, which we mismanaged because then we kicked out all the Baathists and allowed only one of them to take power. Those things, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, parallel types of cultural problems like that don't necessarily exist in Venezuela. Is that correct?
No, Venezuela is like most Latin American countries, a majority Catholic country with some evangelicals, growing evangelical population. But people don't hate each other because of their faith or ethnicity.
What about the bordering nations, though? Is there, with things like FARC or things like that, are there ways that insurgencies could find their way into Venezuela through native Venezuelans?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure they're native Venezuelans, but they're certainly the colectivos. That's the biggest threat. They are the paramilitary groups that Chavez armed from the beginning. They're essentially communist guerrillas. They're small number in membership, but they are armed. They want to cause trouble. But they're also not dumb, and they would never fight like a foreign military or anything like that because they would get killed. They've only ever fought unarmed civilians in protests. That's their entire experience.
Yeah.
So, but there certainly are groups that can give trouble. And I think that's the biggest threat, and that's why Venezuela needs some peacemaking force. Whether it's the Venezuelan military, can they survive a transition, the Venezuelan military itself?
Yeah, what's the setup there right now? What is that? What does that even look like? Like what? Obviously, they were loyal to Maduro, but are a lot of people in the military?
I mean, the soldiers, the regular soldiers are not.
Right.
But they don't want to get killed. They want to get paid and they want to eat. And that's why they're soldiers.
Did they have an opening now to say to the leadership, yo, we're not fighting for this anymore?
No, they don't.
That's interesting.
Because they're still in power, which is why we need the United States to threaten these people to peacefully, give power to the elected government.
What are your friends on the ground in Venezuela who are fortunate enough to not be in prison right now? What, in speaking with them over the past day, what have they been saying about what it's like in the streets or at the government, outside the government buildings or things like that?
It is empty. Totally empty.
Empty.
The streets are empty. Everybody's like, we're not leaving our house because everybody's afraid of getting arrested.
Oh, they're afraid of getting arrested right now.
Oh, yes. Yes. And to be fair, they're waiting to see what Maria Corina Machado, the opposition leader, says. Because she put out a statement a few hours ago saying, remember we're recording this on Saturday, saying that carefully wait for my next instructions to the people of Venezuela.
All right, can we quickly do a tangent on, we touched it earlier, but last summer, 2024, with the obviously disputed sham election that happened, can you just give me the players who were on the other side of that, who really won that election, and then Maduro refused to cede power, and where these opposition leaders come from, like how long they've been around and what their background is?
Yes. So, while Maria Corina has been in opposition to this regime from the start, she was an election integrity activist. I think I mentioned this before. Saying how the elections were rigged. When I mean rigged, I mean the beginning it was that people were voting, there was the military forcing people to vote, people in public housing, government employees. But this is part of why they grew the state, so that public employees were forced to vote to get paid and get food. And wear red shirts. All the regime employees wore red shirts because that's the color of socialism. So, propaganda, censorship in the media. So that's part of how the elections were rigged. And then they began rigging them by just changing the results. Now they don't even bother paying people to vote or having dead people vote, because why would you? Just let people vote and then we just announce a different result. I honestly think they took too long. They took too long. Why would you go through all that process of rigging an election when you can just make up the number?
Crazy.
Right? It's way cheaper, easier. People are freer. They can be happy. Go vote. Go participate in your sham. And then we just make it up. And so she has been calling that out for decades. And then she ran for Congress, won in my district in the eastern part of Caracas, which was a big opposition stronghold.
What years approximately?
I think, it must have been 2011.
Okay, so a while ago.
Yeah. And then she challenged Chavez in the State of the Union, in the middle of his State of the Union in Congress, because Chavez was very known for taking speeches making speeches that took hours. Okay, we thought that
like a filibuster, if you will.
Yeah, we thought that he was in drugs because he didn't go to the bathroom for a very, very long time. He had a daily show too. It was called "Hello, Mr. President" every morning on TV.
Like fucking Mr. Rogers.
I guess I don't know.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he never went to the bathroom for hours. So it was really impressive. So we thought he was on something, maybe in his own supply,
Yeah, maybe.
So Maria Corina challenged him in the middle of the speech, called him a thief for stealing private property, that he was a crook, a criminal, all these things. She was eventually beaten, and later, not that moment, Chavez just kind of mocked her or something. Then he died, and then she was kicked out of Congress illegally, and then they barred her from running, then they barred her from leaving the country. And then, she eventually became the opposition leader after several people, because several people were proven to be actually on the pay of the regime, other opposition members. Even the people who ran against Chavez and Maduro, turns out they were all on the take.
It's a sham, total sham.
It was all a sham. It's like if you lose, even the winner was paid.
Before Chavez changed the Constitution and changed how the government was set up, obviously there was still something called a Congress in place, but like before he did that, what was the setup? Like in the United States, obviously we had the judiciary and then
Very
Senate,
similar.
Congress. It's
Three
very
branches.
similar.
We had a Senate. We had a lower house.
He got rid of the Senate, right?
He got rid of the Senate. Only unicameral Congress, just to make passing laws easier.
God, everything goes back to ancient Rome, bro. Same shit they did there.
Right? I know. Yeah, separation of powers. Like we were a federal, with the states that ran the police, right? You couldn't have the states running the police if you were going to implement a dictatorship. Because what if they rebel against you and then they use the police as a military force, right?
Yep.
With guns. So he federalized all the police forces and he had the military be the police.
Was there
So the National Guard was in the grocery stores.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.